Hey, it's James Lynch. I know I'm a little late on this, but a lot of people have been asking me my opinion on the whole Ian Garry and Khamzat Chimaev scuffle backstage at the UFC Qatar card. Let's watch the clip first. Then I'm going to break down just kind of my thoughts on the whole thing and why I think this whole thing didn't need to happen. It was very pointless. I know people like this type of backstage drama. That's what a lot of fans get drawn into. But let's watch this clip, and we'll watch it first in its entirety, and then I'll break it down frame by frame and kind of give my thoughts on everything here. So here is Khamzat and Chimaev, Ian Garry getting into it backstage, as it says here on Championship Rounds.
Good job tonight. Ready to go?
No, I'm on armor.
Oh, he's not going to fight me. He's good. He's a champion. Don't worry. What's wrong? Whoa.
Come on, relax, boys. Relax.
Dude, that's just childish. You're meant to be a champion in this sport. Look at me. You're meant to be a champion in this sport. Your friend just won. Don't ruin his victory. Our man, congratulations.
Okay, so I've heard a lot of people's different takes on this whole thing about what Garry did, what Chimaev did. Let's kind of go frame by frame, and I'll give you kind of my opinion on this whole thing. I'm going to do it, maybe I'll lower the volume a little bit just because it's kind of hard to describe it. Okay, so we have Garry here. First off, kind of doing this weird kind of back pat thing to Chimaev, which, listen, if you're, I wouldn't do this to Chimaev of all people. Let's do it this way. Some people can be a little aggressive on the back pat. You'll watch this here, what Garry does. Let's have a quick look.
Good job tonight.
So you can see there, Garry kind of gives him a big kind of grab the shoulder. Chimaev gives him a bit of pat on the back too. And Gary's kind of looking at the camera, right? Probably not a good idea to hold Chimaev's shoulder. You can see he's all good here. He smiles. Everything's good. Maybe Chimaev's a little bit irked after that moment, but that's kind of my take on it there. So he goes, looks there, and then you can see the security guard kind of right here. He's already zoning in. He's like, hey, we don't have any issues there. I don't think he really saw what happened there. It seemed pretty friendly right at the beginning here. So he comes in, Gary's drinking his water. Chimaev, you can see his back's turned. He's all good. He's going the opposite direction. And then he looks back, and Chimaev then kind of eyes him again. And this looks a little bit more serious. Like, it looks like he did kind of think like, hey man, why did he grab my shoulder like that? That seemed a bit weird. And then Garry says, oh, well, we're not going to fight. We're not going to fight. Right. Watch this.
No, I'm on armor.
Oh, he's not going to fight me. He's good.
So here's the thing where I think people get confused. Like, people think that Gary's saying he's not going to fight me. I don't think he's saying it like Chimaev is scared to fight him. I've seen some people say that. Listen, I'm not an Ian Garry fan of some of the things he does outside the cage. Like, I'm not a fan of that. So I have no reason to defend him here. I really don't think that's what he meant. I think Garry just said like, hey, he's not going to fight me. Like, you don't need to bring security in here. Like, that's ridiculous. Like, we've seen this happen before where security will come in to a situation and it's like it's not even like a thing here. Right. So I think this is my take. I think Garry meant it actually like he's not going to fight me. Like, hey, like he's not going to fight me, man. Don't worry about it, right? Garry could have done himself a favor saying like, don't worry about it. But he says he's not going to fight me. Now, again, keep in mind, there's a language barrier here, right? So Chimaev, he speaks good English, but like there could be some tone that's lost in the translation here. Chimaev, I think at this moment took it as like, he's not going to fight me because he won't do anything, right? I think that's where the issue came in place, but I really don't think that's what Garry meant. As much as I don't want to defend Garry here, I don't think he's in the wrong here. So he says that. Now we'll watch the rest of it.
He's a champion. Don't worry.
So he says, don't worry about it. Ha ha ha. Even security guards like laughing. He still does the weird shoulder thing again. Ian, you probably shouldn't do that. Honestly, that seems a little odd. And then, and we even have the quote here. That's childish. You're meant to. Okay. So he says this after this, that's childish. Okay. So then Chimaev's over there.
What's wrong?
This is where you can see the look on Chimaev's face, and we can kind of zoom in here. He doesn't look too happy. So I'm assuming at this point that he is taking it as he said he's not going to fight me, as if like you're not going to do anything about it. And Garry here is just taking it as like, what's the issue? Because I think he takes note of the look that Chimaev does. So here we go. Now this is where the push comes in. Okay. And there's Garry kind of getting defensive, kind of being like, dude, what's your problem? Like, we're not going to fight. I was just being friendly to you. And Chimaev, of course, pushes him. There we go. And he's absolutely pissed. You saw the look right there. That is a pissed off Chimaev. And he's getting all like, hey, what are you going to do about it? All this security comes in. We can see the rest of it there. And then Garry throws a jab at him after saying like, you're a champion, dude. Why are you pushing people?
Dude, that's just childish. You're meant to be a champion in this sport. Look at me. You're meant to be a champion in this sport. Your friend just won. Don't ruin his victory.
So Armin trying to, credit to him, trying to keep the peace here. I think Armin knows that he doesn't want this to get any further. Again, this is a card with Armin and Ian Garry that fought on it. He's trying to make this not into like a thing because it was a good event, right? Like I think Armin even to himself is like, hey, we don't want this to go any further. So credit to Armin here for this whole thing.
Armin, congratulations.
He says, Armin, congratulations. It's all good there. And then Garry just walks on like nothing happened. So if we read the quote here from Championship Rounds, it says, I'm going to F you up. He says, that's childish. You're meant to be champion. So obviously at that moment, Chimaev took it as like, hey, you said you're not going to fight me. But I really don't think that's what Garry meant. But here's why I think this whole thing's pointless, the title of this. So first and foremost, let's say for argument's sake that Garry was trying to say, oh, you're not going to fight me. Then you're an idiot. You shouldn't be doing that. There's no point in starting anything with Khamzat Chimaev because he's not in your weight class. I know there's some fans out there that think that Chimaev's going to come back down to 170. I highly doubt it. He looked pretty good at 185. We know he cuts a lot of weight to get even to 85. I don't think he's coming to the division. So right there, like let's say for argument's sake that Garry was antagonizing him saying, well, what are you going to do? That's dumb on Gary's part because like you're fighting a guy who's essentially bigger than you, in my opinion. I would think. I know height and reach wise, maybe not so much, but you got to imagine that Chimaev's a pretty scary dude. Look what he did to Dricus Duplessis in his last fight. So if you are Garry and you're antagonizing him, not a good move on Gary's part. You're not going to fight him. So that's the first part of it. But again, I don't think that's what Garry meant. I think what Garry meant was like, hey, dude, we're not going to fight each other. Like, it's no big deal. I think tone matters. Garry would have done himself some favors if he would have said, hey, we're not going to fight each other. Don't worry about it. We're all good. He could have said that. He didn't say that in that moment. Again, it's always weird when you're interacting with someone and it's completely out of the blue. That's understandable there. So that's side one of it. But then the part here where Chimaev goes to push him, I know a lot of fans right now are like, don't play this game with Chimaev. Don't try and punk him. And I get that part of it, but dude, don't push him. Again, this fight's not going to happen. Not anytime soon. Garry just came off arguably one of the biggest wins in his career over a former champion in Bilal Muhammad. He could be next for the title for all we know, right? I think merit-wise, he has a strong case here after defeating Bilal Muhammad in his last fight. So dumb on Garry and him to get into it. And dumb on Chimaev. You're not fighting him. What's the point? I know you want to stand your ground here, but you push someone, and I talked about this on my live stream today. Let's say he pushes them. Let's say the security guy can't stop them. They get into a brawl. Let's say something happens. Let's say they fight, because again, you don't know this isn't a sanctioned fight. This is two highly trained fighters going at each other. Let's say something happens. Let's say Chimaev maybe trips on someone and falls down and cuts himself, or he hits his head, or Garry, same thing. Either of these guys, both these guys are in great spots in their career. Chimaev's got to defend that middleweight title. We're assuming against Imavov or someone coming up here soon. Do you want to jeopardize that by getting in a fight? Like, I think this was dumb on Chimaev's part to even throw the push. If you feel like you're being disrespected, that's fine. Stand your ground and maybe say something to him. But to push Garry and potentially cause a fight, I think is idiotic on Chimaev's part because, again, what if something happens here and you get hurt and it jeopardizes a future fight? And for Garry, same thing. Like, dude, what are you doing? You're not going to fight him in your weight class. And also, of all bears to poke, so to speak, or maybe we'll use wolf as our analogy here, to poke the wolf, you don't want to be poking Khamzat Chimaev. The dude is an absolute killer. So I think this whole thing was dumb on both people's parts. I know fans love this stuff. They eat it up. They're like, oh, it's good, good promotion. But the reality is they're in two different weight classes. They're not going to fight each other. And I still don't think Chimaev is going to come down and fight at 170 anytime soon. So I think this whole thing was pointless. Like it says in the thumbnail here, I think fighters got to control their emotions. Like, I get it. There's a lot of alpha males in this sport. You want to, again, I understand Chimaev wanting to show his dominance, but once you throw that push, that's where things could escalate and could get really bad here. And I just think on both ends, on Garry and Chimaev, dumb move on both. They're lucky and nothing like exploded and it turned into like a big thing. Because like I said, if someone got hurt, that's your livelihood. You're not going to get to fight. It could have been bad for both guys. So yeah, again, I think this whole thing was dumb because they're not going to fight each other. Not anytime soon anyways. Maybe eventually Garry moves up to 85. He's still very young in his career. Why would he move up right now when he's on the cusp of a title shot at 170? And for Chimaev, you just won the middleweight title. You're not coming down to 170. Again, I think bad look on both parts. So that's just my thoughts on that. So what did you guys think of the scuffle backstage? Let me know in the comments. Follow me on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, @Lynch on Sports. My name is James Lynch. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.